It's just very homey, and we want people to feel like they're home, that they're going to be listened to.
That seems to be your brand. Treat them like your guests, friends who you're having over, making them comfortable, then deliver something highly valuable.
That's exactly it. If they can walk in and they can let that monkey off their back and they can just feel at home, we've definitely accomplished that in our new space. It's not easy running a business. Alex Hermosi equated it to eating glass, and that's perfectly stated. It's, the systems that our government's put in place, it's actually made it more difficult. Being in the health field, our doctors spend an hour with you. You go to your medical doctor, you're lucky to get them for 7 minutes. They have to churn and burn quotas. It's like, that's not a system that's designed to provide value and give you health.
A more free system is a better system, not a system with fewer rules. Some rules will make you more free.
My whole stance is living a life by design.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This was a really great conversation between me and Paul Berens. We had a great time talking about him, his story, the healthcare practice that he runs with his wife, and the core motivations behind business. We got into a bit of philosophy, a bit of politics, a bit about like how business really ought to be run. It was really fun, really great conversation, and I thank Paul Berens for having the conversation with me. It was really great, and I hope that he feels the same, and I hope that you feel the same as well. Enjoy our conversation. All right, so how's it going?
It's going. It's never a dull moment. Sometimes right in the middle with some business problems going on right now, but that's to be expected, running multiple businesses.
Yeah. Where would you like to start?
I'm open, man. I just love the podcast forum. I love having a open conversation, an organic conversation.
Yeah.
I know that we met over Facebook, so maybe I'm willing to go wherever you want to go.
Cool. So the our conversation over Facebook, you have a few irons in the fire. Why don't we start there with like all of your endeavors that you're pursuing?
Yeah. So basically, the real big piece or quick piece of it is I'm a former firefighter. I was a firefighter for 14 years. Started doing that career when I was 18 years old. Actually started going to school to become a firefighter when I was 16. Started taking college courses while I was in high school because I knew at that point that's what I wanted to do. So I did that career for 14 years. I struggled immensely in that career because I've always been the type of guy that's been very bold. I've been vocal. I ask a lot of questions because I want to understand how things are being done, and just eventually ended up getting sick in the fire service. I was overweight. I had lost my sense of smell and taste. I had 3 sinus surgeries. Wow. I had moved around quite a bit to different fire departments, which is kind of uncommon because when you go to test to become a firefighter, you're testing with hundreds, if not thousands of other guys because it's such a sought after job. But I was stuck. I was lost. I was stuck. I was miserable. And I wasn't being a good man. And then in 2015, my close friend, his name was Craig Mullennan, passed away. He died at the age of 36 from firefighting. He got cancer when he was 33, and he fought it for about 3 years, and then he ultimately passed away. So, and that was the year of 2015. And so it was at that time that I just knew that this isn't for me. Like this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And so I decided to walk away. It was the only career I'd ever had since I started at a young age. And I walked away. I was the primary breadwinner of my family. My oldest son was about 1.5 years old. And man, I didn't care how scared I was of losing everything. I was just like, I cannot do this anymore. My health is struggling. I was overweight. But basically, it just comes down to I wasn't being the man that I felt God had called me to be. And so I found a path out. I started doing home inspections, started my own business, became an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Started doing really well at that actually, because towards the tail end of my career at the fire department, I was an inspector, an investigator. And so my day basically consisted of going to construction sites, snapping photos of discrepancies with my iPad, and writing a report. And I was like, that's what home inspections are. So started my own business. I
Yeah.
was able to start raising my son. I was able to have more flexibility. I was very, excited and passionate to start my own business because I was like, I'm going to make this thing a success. And so started just deciding to stop living by default, because I felt that's how I was living. I was living by default. I was not living a life by design.
Yeah.
I had all these ever, like vacation time, right? I had somebody else tell me when I could take vacation and just things like that. But in 3 months, I shut down my home inspection business despite it being successful. My wife is a chiropractor. She's a doctor, and she had a very small practice while I was a firefighter. And she was raising our oldest son at the time too, so she was juggling that. And in 2017, she's like, you know what? I want to build a big wellness center. I want to build a wellness center that people can come to, or look to for health restoration. And so she's like, why don't you pack up the home inspection business and let's do this together as a family? And so that's what we've been doing the past 8 years, is building this wellness center, this holistic healing place, for people of all walks of life to come to. She's a chiropractor by her doctorate degree, but we see people struggling with all kinds of health issues. And it's just the way that we approach the body, that enables these issues, these symptoms that people are having to essentially go away, because we take such a different approach. But that in of itself is, it's spawned from when we started. We were in 1,800 square feet in 2017, and we just moved to a new space that's almost 6,000 square feet.
Wow. That's a big
Yeah,
change.
yeah. So it's, that's like one of those irons is, it's just, we've been doing the build out since March. We moved in May. And so there's a lot of odds and ends, but my role is I basically run the operations. I'm a process guy. I'm a systems guy. So
Yeah.
we have three doctors, we have two other staff plus me. And that's just what we've been doing. And we're doing it because we really want to bring that health restoration to people's lives, because your health is so critical.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
I
and
think there's a lot of confusion how health really even works nowadays. I think people there's a mistake that people often make in delegating all the thinking about their health to the professionals,
yeah,
the experts,
the expert,
and
the
and
specialist.
we stop thinking about our health and just like, all right, whatever the doctor says, that's probably it, but I'm not going to do anything between
Yeah,
visits. There's a major disconnect, and
yeah.
I find that education is a huge component of all of the quality services, and I would guess especially like a holistic approach to healthcare.
Yeah, and I can tell you exactly what that disconnect is because you already hit on it. It's this idea of specialists. Now, I'm not saying if you think you have a heart problem, you should not go see a cardiac specialist.
Right.
But what I am saying is your body and all of the different systems work together. You have your brain, you have your heart, you have your immune system, you have your gut, you have all these things, they work together. And where our belief is, our different approach to health is, where Western medicine really misses the boat, is those specialists, they get so tunnel visioned on just their area. And the body doesn't work like that. And now I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor, but so when the cardiac's like, oh yeah, you have a heart problem, it's like, well, maybe not really. Like
Maybe it's a tooth problem.
maybe, yeah, it could be tooth. Maybe your gut is so destroyed that, or maybe your immune system is actually non-existent and it's causing this heart thing. So that's where we take we call it the Swiss watch principle. If you've ever seen a Swiss watch, you turn one gear, all the other gears change. They turn with that one
Right.
gear.
Yeah.
And so those specialists, they're just focused on that one gear. And so where we're different is we're like, no, no, no. What is your whole body telling us? And
Right.
our motto is we don't guess, we test. So we have comprehensive lab work that we test everybody. It's like, no, let's not guess at what your body's saying. Let's actually see what it is saying and what the triggers are that are actually causing some of these things to happen for you. So for me, for example, I said I lost my sense of smell. I had 3 sinus surgeries, and it was after that second sinus surgery in 2010 that my smell just started to go away. But you already kinda hit on it. I went the typical medical approach. Like, I was like, "Oh, my sinuses are messed up. Hey, we must need to remove some parts. We must need to get in there and do the Roto-Rooter out," right? But that didn't fix my problem because they were so tunnel visioned on, "Nope, it's a sinus thing," right? The ear, nose, throat specialist. But what was happening was I wasn't working on my gut health. I wasn't working on, my diet, things like that. And that's where in our clinic, our fundamental test is a food allergy test. Like
Yeah.
how many times a day do you eat and how many different types of things do you eat that guess what? You could be eating, you know, 30 things that you're actually allergic to. They're not sensitivities. That's a whole other misnomer, but that you're allergic to that's causing an immune reaction within your body, that's causing inflammation and is then causing these symptoms. Like for
Yeah.
me, I was causing inflammation within my sinus cavities that cut off my smelling nerve. Like that's what it was. And it
The
wasn't
nerve
until we
itself got pinched
yeah, maybe it was pinched. I mean, with 3
or
sinus surgeries, I
cut off.
know yeah, I mean, when you get that inflammation in there, the part of your olfactory nerve is, tasting and having the airflow to it and all that stuff, I believe. So, and maybe not pinched in a way, but it was just like blocked because of the
Right.
inflammation, the swelling of the tissue. Like all of those things were not working together. So therefore, I could not smell, I could not taste. And so
Wow.
it wasn't until we started doing this comprehensive testing and living this lifestyle and taking this different type of approach to my health that yeah, I can smell this coffee. Like my smell is great. I haven't had a surgery in 10 years. But yeah, it's that whole encompassing approach of not getting honed in on just one thing to really fix
Yeah.
your health. And that's the thing, like not being able to smell and not being able to taste was just one piece of it, James. Like that sucked. If you're wearing glasses, so if your eyesight's bad, you can put on glasses. If your hearing's bad, you can wear hearing aids. There's nothing I can, stuff up my nose to make me smell better. So that was the whole physical part of it, but the whole other was the mental aspect. Like I was depressed. I was overweight. I was depressed. It bothered me immensely that, we go out to a nice restaurant with friends and I couldn't smell or taste the food. Like it's really
Yeah.
this, it was really this, yeah, it was not a fun time. But
Yeah.
the biggest thing is, that's 10 years removed. And that's the thing is health, there is no finish line. I just took one of our stool tests, our poop tests. We talk about poop a lot in our office, but like finding out like my gut, we just took a trip from or to the Bahamas and I got back and my stomach swelled up. I was inflamed and bloated. I was like, man, what is going on? So I took a stool test and now I have answers. Like I'm not guessing. So now I have a path forward to go, hey, like I got to get, this little thing cleaned up and this little thing cleaned up, even though I live a very healthy lifestyle, a very active, fit lifestyle.
Yeah.
So there's never a finish line. And I think that leads to your point of, people, they don't do anything. They don't want to change, a lot of people just want to take the pill and then it stops working, and then
And
they're
they
like,
think
oh,
that's enough.
yeah,
And if it doesn't fix it, that it's the solution is another pill, another
right,
specialist.
right,
And the holistic approach is, like you were saying, the Swiss watch analogy.
yep,
If the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem starts to look like a nail.
yep,
And I think, yeah, that's a major problem. I had a client, a dentistry, and one of the things that they were saying is a lot of health issues actually are rooted in the oral health.
yeah,
And heart issues are caused because the bacteria in the mouth starts to travel downward,
hmm,
and then infect the heart. And the heart health is linked to oral health, like very, very strongly.
yeah,
And same with the gut health. If you have something that's a little bit um, it's easier to connect those dots. Like if
hmm,
something's going on in your mouth, well, things are going to go down. It's going to go into your
yeah,
gut.
yep,
But then if it's in your gut, it's also in your brain, because of the gut brain link.
there, yep.
There's everything is interconnected. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes sense because, like I mentioned, that food test that we do in our clinic, and what that really is testing, and the reason I say they're actually allergic reactions and not sensitivities, is your body doesn't really know the difference of, well, you're kind of sensitive to this. It's an immune response or it's not. And so like that food test with, and again, I'm not a doctor. I work in the industry and I know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what that test is really testing for is it's testing the proteins of these foods that pass through your gut barrier, because unfortunately we all have gut damage, and then those proteins end up in your bloodstream, and then your body either reacts to those proteins or it doesn't, and that's what we're using as the immune response. And so yeah, so it's like if that's happening, then surely, like if you have bacteria in your mouth, then it's definitely getting in your bloodstream somehow, and that's going to affect, could affect, maybe you get knee pain or something like that. It's like, so we see a biodentist, and every time I go in to see him, the first thing he does is he does a swab of my mouth and he puts it on a slide and he pulls it up on his TV and he's like, "Yep, here's the bacteria," and he can kind of estimate
Yeah.
like the good bacteria versus the bad bacteria, and so he probably does that because of the heart health.
Yeah, I seem to recall a documentary or something called "Bad Bugs,"
Mm,
and um, and it was oral health linked to overall health, especially heart health.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what he was doing. Is like he was taking the swab, look at what's going on, what bacteria are swimming around, and
Mhm.
he was pointing out this or that kind of a bacteria. It's like, oh yeah, we want to up your iodine because that's going to help this or that, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff, man, and it's sad the way the system's set up to, perpetuate, bad health, poor health. It's really not, the Western medicine system is not designed to keep you healthy.
No,
Right.
it's not. Yeah, there's a I feel um I don't know. Like I'm black pilled on the whole healthcare system, because everything is um in some ways geared to the food industry too.
Yep.
The food is engineered to make you want more of it.
Mhm.
Healthcare is geared to always push you to another specialist.
Yep.
And I think they're all in cahoots.
They are 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
I'm a bit, at least red pilled. I don't know if I'm black pilled completely, because people like you are around. We have a holistic health diagnostic clinic here, just a couple blocks south of us. Actually, we patronize them frequently, and Um,
Nice.
and my wife will, whenever we get pregnant, she'll head down there to get her hormones checked, just to
Yep.
make sure progesterone's up where it needs to be, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We see a lot of infertility in our clinic. We have women that come in that have been told they aren't able to have kids, or maybe they've had failed in vitro, and um, we work on getting the body back to normal, to homeostasis, so that the body can do what it's designed to do, and it's
Yeah.
awesome to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that's another thing. That's a whole other topic.
Mhm.
Fertility. Like,
Yep.
nobody understands fertility. We're not taught that, like, true fertility.
Right.
In the I was homeschooled, so I didn't have to go through the were you
My
too?
kids are no, my kids are homeschooled. We
Oh,
homeschool our
good,
kids, so yet
good, good. Yeah.
another iron you spoke of.
Yes, yeah, yeah. We're planning to homeschool as well. Our oldest is turning 6 this year, so we're doing the slow trickle, introducing ABCs, etc.
Yeah.
And funnily though, I'm a big math nerd, so I like help him. Like, he actually knows how to add already,
Wow.
and,
Nice.
and he's that was actually a year and a half ago that I taught him, and he's able to add now. He still has a little bit of work to do in order to grasp um the like next decimals, but
Yeah.
he at least understands the concept of addition, and going beyond that is, I think, going to be a fairly easy next step in his education. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. No, I love the homeschool. We've always wanted to homeschool, even pre-COVID. We want to be able to have more control over what they're being taught in school,
Yes.
and that's the other thing. It kind of goes back to my beginning story of, like, I want to be a present father.
Yes.
I want to raise my boys. I have two boys. They're 8 and 6. They come to our business with us. They see us building this business. They see us,
Yes.
going through these trials. They see us doing all these things, and they're not getting taught that in school, and
No.
they're
that-
not in public
That's
school, at least. And
that's
so,
the other thing about public school, is it doesn't teach you how money works. Like,
exactly.
the monetary education is basically non-existent in school. We used to have home economics, but that was like cooking. It's
Yep.
like, okay, economy is about your resources and managing them, and we have none of that.
Yep.
We're churning out obedient factory workers,
Yep.
but we don't have factories to put them in anymore. So then you're like, okay, so go to college. Like, the whole system's broken.
Yeah. Yeah. You are black pilled. I am too.
Yeah. Um, but something that I'm noting as well is a shift, though, in what business is, and that's what I want to. That's where I want to plug myself into in our culture,
Hmm.
and help heal help heal our economy, in the sense that the basic motives that people have in business is to do good to your
Yeah.
neighbors.
Yeah.
That's entirely you mentioned faith as well, or God.
Mhm.
And one of the definitions that I use for business is mutual benefit. And if you extend that to the desire to mutually benefit your neighbor, that is um, that is basically, you're in your commerce, in your trade, you are willing the good of the other, and that's the definition of love. And
Mhm.
by extension, your business becomes a fulfillment of the second greatest commandment to love thy neighbor. And and we've gone so far away from that. There the basic idea in business that's popular, I guess you could say, is minimize costs, maximize profits.
Mhm.
And I think we're looking at it incorrectly. Maximize the value you create and minimize what it costs you to create it.
Yeah.
That's how you build wealth. That's how you build your neighbor's wealth and your own. And if your whole goal is to mutually benefit, then your neighbor, wants your good and you want his good, and you're like, hey, we should do business. You shake hands, and you provide a service or deliver goods, and he returns in a particular manner that the standard manner is exchange of money.
I mean
But
that's capitalism, isn't it? It's like, hey,
right,
like you have a service, you're gonna pay me for the service. I'm gonna provide that good service. Like, I mean, in the most generic definition in my mind, I believe
yeah,
that's capitalism. That's you know, and that's
yeah,
why that's why I was telling you, like, I love the podcast forum because there's so much value that I think has been lost with the evolution of technology and society and a lot of people just don't sit down and have a conversation like this. You know,
yeah, yeah,
it's I mean, it's awesome that there's thousands or hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there now. Like I love to see that's a piece, but still even despite the amount of podcasts that there are that you could go listen to at any given moment, people still don't kind of really operate that way. They're more inclined to text you now instead of call you. Like I'm old enough now, like I still call my good friends. Like I'm not texting them
yeah,
like, hey man, how's it going? No, I pick up the phone, I call them because I want to talk to
yeah,
them. And and I think that also goes to the whole value aspect, and you hit the nail on the head there. It's something we strive for in my businesses is we want to over provide value to anybody that comes into our our sphere of health restoration.
yeah,
And
yeah.
by doing so, that's good business. Like
It
when
is.
70% of our new patients every month are referral based because we've provided value to these patients. We've gotten them to feel better. We've gotten them to we've educated them on their actual health and things like that. So they automatically tell all their friends and their family. And even though I think we have about 60 clinics nationwide, they still want to come to my office is because we provide that value.
Yeah, yeah. It segues really well into this the realm of marketing. Um, when the standard marketing gurus tell you what to do, basically it's you know slicked hair, salesy tactics, methodologies, um, and we've gone so far away from the human aspect of business, which
Yeah.
is shaking hands,
Yep.
and making a real genuine offer. It's like, I have something good, I know you will benefit, do you want this? That is marketing, how it should be. And we've gone so far away from true human interactions.
Yeah, and we've actually we actually it's a good point. We just went we're going through it in our business right now. So, I'm part of moving to this big space that we just took over, and hiring a third doctor. We're going back to kind of the basics, if you will. We're doing networking groups where we're meeting people in different industries and seeing how we can help each other
Yeah,
and how we can refer each other business. And we I wouldn't say we lost sight of that. It's just that we were busy enough, at a certain point where we didn't need to go and do that type of networking. and people would find us on our website and stuff like that. But we're at
Right.
that point now where it's like, okay, we have more staff. We want to have a bigger community outreach.
Yeah.
So we're going to do those types of things that are in the community. We're walking into, health food stores that are in congruence with what we do, and talking to them and seeing how we can send people their way. And that's kind of the first thing that we always
And
talk about.
vice
It's like,
versa.
and vice versa. Yeah. But it's like, how can we add value to your business? Because if we add value to your business, you're certainly going to add value to ours.
Yeah. 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 It's again, this mutual desire of benefit, right? We both want the other to succeed.
Yeah.
And when we leave that, when we are I want when we change our mindset from let's both succeed to I succeed, we actually both fail to succeed.
Yeah.
And that's the dichotomy, or
Mhm.
paradox, I should say. The paradox of good business is deliver as much as you possibly can.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, yeah, because that actually, it's um, the interview that I did yesterday with Giovanni. He was saying the same thing. It's like he holds nothing back. He gives as much education. He does finance, uh,
Mhm.
and especially educating his clientele. And
Yeah.
he gives them as much as he possibly can. And the people who succeed with it, referrals all day.
Yeah.
Uh, and again, that paradox: just deliver as much as you possibly can. The people will come back to you.
Yeah. Well, and the other side of it, that too, is, he's giving as much as he can. He's giving as much value as he can. And so, you know, depending on your category of business or your clientele, you know, if you're providing that much value, then really you can, in a sense, almost charge what you want, because the value
Yeah.
supersedes the cost. And I think that's where some businesses may get it wrong, is, they're like, nope, this is what it costs, but they're not providing enough value. So therefore they come up against people not wanting to pay the what it's going to cost. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so the conundrum then is they're failing to minimize their costs and maximize their delivery. So it's when you fail to maximize your delivery, your costs will grow to meet your delivery value.
Yeah.
And or vice versa, the other way around, your delivery value minimizes to meet your costs.
Yep. Yep. 100%.
Yeah. um, and then if your motivation is if your motivation truly is to benefit the other, that cost to delivery value ratio goes higher and higher and higher, and anywhere in the middle is good business. When the
Yeah.
other person, if the value is way up here for the other person, they pay this but it costs you this, well, you're both better off after having done business.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me who it is that typically comes into your or maybe not who typically, who should come into your clinics.
Well, uh, let me explain our philosophy on I'll further explain the philosophy on our approach. So, the first I don't know what the right word is, but people go, "Oh, your wife's a chiropractor." It's like, yeah, we've heard that before. The reason my wife's a chiropractor is because our belief is chiropractors have more knowledge on the physiology and the interactions and the processes of the body. They don't just perform a spinal adjustment on your bones. They actually have a very deep rooted understanding in the pathways and all the things within your body. My wife She just finished up like a cancer course, not a course doesn't really is like a it's like a master cancer thing. And she was the only chiropractor. It was called the metabolic approach to cancer. But
Ooh,
she
I think I might be familiar with this.
okay, so yeah, Dr. Nasha Winters is the one that put it on. But she was the only chiropractor in her cohort, and she was in there with pathologists and high level cancer doctors from India, from the US. So she's actually extremely smart. And I'm not just saying that because, I want some kudos from my wife, but she's actually one of the brightest doctors that I know. And across the board, the doctors we have in our clinics worldwide, they are chiropractors, and they have a different approach. Like and they often get lambasted as quacks and all these things from medical doctors and all that. So I always throw that out there because that's usually the first or most negative thing that people can say. And that's just how I am. But the people that want or should come to our clinic are people that are just fed up. Like they're fed up with the medical system. The most common thing we probably hear is, I went to my medical doctor, they ran some labs, they said everything's normal, and I know that I'm not normal. Like I know something is wrong, and then they want to give me a drug. Like if that's you, that's who should come see any of the wellness ways in the country, because we dig deeper. And the example I'll give, James, is let's say your wife goes to her medical doctor and he thinks she has a thyroid issue, and he tests her thyroid. Well, they're testing 3, maybe 4 markers, and she knows something's off. Something's off because you're her husband. But he goes, hey, these 4 markers, they're within range. Like nothing's wrong. And she's going, no, I know there's something wrong. Well,
Right.
she'll walk into our clinic, and then we'll test her thyroid with 14 markers, or if we add her hormones, we'll test her thyroid with 21 different markers, and we're going to actually take an X-ray image of her thyroid, and that's comprehensive. And that's the reason the medical field doesn't really do that normally is because it costs more. It costs the insurance more, and we
Yes.
don't operate on insurance. We're not beholden to the insurance company and co-pays and all these things. And so
Yeah.
we dive deeper. And the best thing about what I think we do in our clinic is you get that test at cost. Like as an owner, you pay what I pay to get that lab done, any of our labs. And we do that because we want you to have that information. We
Yeah.
want, like that information should not be withheld from you. Like and that's what your body's saying. And so that's where we're not really interested in any dis-ease that you've been diagnosed with. We don't diagnose disease, right? We just look at what your body's actually doing, and we go, okay, here's a custom plan for your body. No 2 plans are the same. If you had a twin brother, we would test both of you and you both would get a different plan. We do not do protocols. And I think that's what just makes us able to really solve some of these issues that people have. And so,
Yeah.
like I said, like, okay, you have Hashimoto's. Great. You've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's. That's awesome. We're going to test your body and see what it's telling us to get a custom plan for your body.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's when people are like, well, what really do you guys do? It's like, well, it's like functional medicine, but where we kind of assert ourselves differently from the functional medicine field or naturopaths or whatever is we don't do protocols. We're and I think that's a typical, if someone's giving you a protocol, that's just like Western medicine. Like what is the difference if you know your medical doctor wants to give you a heart drug, and then you go see a naturopath and they're like, well, here's some fish oil. It's like, no, Yeah, we sell supplements in our office, but we're giving you supplements for what your body is telling us based on your comprehensive lab work. I'm not just giving it to you because that's what the protocol says.
Right.
And so we really do take a different approach in all of those realms to get people better. And
Yeah.
my wife was telling me she had a lady come in last week who actually started crying after my wife presented her results to her and said, this is the plan, this is what we're going to do, this whole thing. They get a whole binder full of all of this information, and she started crying, not because um, she was sad. She was actually crying because somebody actually was able to sit down and listen to her
Yeah.
and was able to say, hey, this is the plan for you. But she had told my wife that she had spent $40,000 in the past 2
Whoa.
years seeing functional medicine offices and not gotten a lick better. And that is criminal. And that is where, she looked at the cost of what we charged her for that plan, and she's like, that's it. She's like, I've spent $40,000 in 2 years and I didn't feel any better. And so she is just over the moon with like, hey, you actually have a plan. You're not trying to rob me and charge me all this money. And so, that's the thing. It's like, when I told you, we don't upcharge for any of our labs, that's kind of another thing in the functional medicine field or the naturopath field where they're making thousands of dollars by upcharging their labs. And people are paying out of pocket for that,
Yeah.
they're, and so that it's just, it's like we want every person that comes into our business to feel like family.
Yeah.
We, and especially with this new space we built, like, you walk in, we basically have a living room as our waiting area. It's very welcoming. It's relaxing. We have a scent machine. We have music going. Like, it's just very like homey, and we want people to feel like they're home and that they're going to be listened to.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be treated like a number, and they're going to get
Yeah.
results.
That's that seems to be your brand is treat them like your guests, like
Yeah.
truly. It's uh everything about your business, how it will communicate something, right? The your the way you present yourself on your website, the way you welcome them when they walk in through the door, where they sit,
Yep.
everything communicates something about how you value them, how
Right.
you see them as a real person. They are your friends who you're having over, and you're making them comfortable, and then you're gonna also then deliver something highly valuable.
Yeah. And that's all. That's exactly it. When I did the design work within our space, and we had some help from our corporate clinic, but you know I was always just thinking about, think about the last medical office you went into. It's very stale, very basic, like it's not really a place that you want to be. You want to get in, you want to get out of there.
Yeah, and it
And
smells like rubbing
yeah,
alcohol.
yeah. So when we were doing this build out and planning, and it was like, no, like we want people to walk in and just have that whatever's hanging, that monkey on their back, right? That they're worried about their health. Or, the other thing that we have is like, we're literally probably the fifth or seventh practitioner that a lot of our patients come and see because they're just not getting the answers from these other practitioners. And so it's like, if they can walk in and they can let that monkey off their back and they can just feel at home, and we've definitely accomplished that in our new space.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. Um, it's so uh, you might know what I do. So like I do brand strategy and copywriting. That's kind of my main gig, and then I also
Mhm.
build websites. Everything that uh, I'm thinking about your presentation from that perspective, and the same way you welcome somebody into your home should be the same way you welcome them into your
Yep.
website, into your clinic, into
Mhm.
whatever space. That this is my space. I want you here, and I want
Yep.
you to feel really, really welcome.
Yeah.
The kind of person that needs what you have to offer should feel like they belong when
Yes.
they've entered there. Yeah, that's really good. I like that.
Yeah.
So I think I'd like to go back a little bit to the kind of person that needs what you have to offer, and that is anyone who has questions still
Yeah.
after seeing a bunch of people, or maybe they skip going to the like I again I feel a little black pilled
Yeah.
on kind of the industry as a whole, and I really like alternatives. I
Yeah.
like I like kind of taking the power out of the big hands and
Mhm.
putting into many smaller hands,
Mhm.
and that's why we go with healthcare cost sharing instead of traditional insurance.
Yeah, that's what we do
And
too.
yeah. So it actually allows us to go to our local holistic clinic um, and be able to pay for that through our cost sharing.
Mhm.
That's another thing that it's called crony capitalism,
Mhm.
when you you push out competition, and
Yeah.
that's kind of that's not just kind of, that is what's happening in the healthcare industry kind of as a whole. And I really like going out on your own and making your own thing. I love that.
Well, it's, not to bring politics into this, but it's like, you get a vote with your dollar, and you
Yes.
also get a vote with how and where you spend your money. And so I'll give you a perfect example. You could probably already guess how I felt about COVID. Um, but during COVID, I got thrown out of several stores because I knew the laws. I stood on my principles, my core values as a man and as a American, and
Yep.
I was very educated because I am in the health field with my wife, and we planted our flag, and so I got thrown out of several stores. Now, here's a perfect example. There was a store that I was thrown out of that I have not spent a dime at, a penny at, $0 since then.
Yep.
And that's, you have a choice on where you get to be a patron of. Like, and
Yeah.
that's, it's
Yeah.
I think it's important. And that's where, even during that time period, it's like, how many small businesses went under because of the mandates, and because of, the big corporations pushing these small places out. And that's really, it's really saddening. It's just, it sucks. And here's the thing, like, it's not easy running a business. Alex Hormozy equated it to eating glass, and that's
Yeah.
perfectly stated. It's, it's there's and being able to um, build a business that is successful and that's able to do all the things that we've talked about, it takes its toll. It's very, very difficult. And I think, the capitalists and the systems that our government's put in place, it's actually made it more difficult. And that's why you don't get the value from certain places. Being in the
Yeah.
health field, it's like our doctors spend an hour with you on your first appointment and your test result appointment. You go to your medical doctor, you're lucky to get them for 7 minutes, because
Yeah.
they have to churn and burn because of whoever they work for, or they have to get a certain amount of
Yep.
prescriptions out and quotas. It's like,
Yep.
that's not a system that's designed to provide value and give you health.
Yeah. I wrote something a while back on what a proper um, a proper economic system is, and how typically we we think of the only the extremes. We think of capitalism and uh, communism, basically, or
Right.
maybe socialism. Um, but like there is a really broad uh, um range in the middle where you are free, and that's really the whole point of it. A more free system is a better system, not
Yes.
a system with fewer rules. That's not exactly the definition of a free system,
Mhm.
um, because some rules will make you more free.
Yeah.
So if there is some law for contracts, that makes you more confident and more free to engage with the other person. So you feel freer to do the business that you want to do in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, and if a law makes you more free to engage with good actors, that's a good law.
Yeah.
Not entirely um, anarcho-capitalist, but this middle area where it is as free as possible.
Mhm.
So you're not crony capitalism where you're locking out the little guys and you're benefiting only the people who are already rich, right? And you're not compelling people to do stuff, which is socialism. You're not eliminating uh, uh, the actual ownership of stuff. That would be communism. It's this middle ground where we are incentivized to work with each other and benefit each other.
Yeah. 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 I couldn't agree more.
I feel like I took over there.
Oh no, you're
Uh,
good, man.
yeah, yeah. I like if you can't tell, I like digging down into the philosophy of stuff. I just pull stuff apart.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a lot of people do that nowadays.
Yeah, I find it's always a good conversation. If somebody has something passionate, it's always a good conversation because I like to I just go as deep as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, where would you like to take the conversation forward?
Man, I'm not sure. That hour went fast already. Yeah,
Yeah.
my whole stance is living a life by design. And so not only do I run this health and wellness business with my wife, but I'm also a men's coach. I started that business about a year ago.
Yeah.
And I felt called to help men because, I was such a broken, lost, depressed man. I was overweight. And sometimes I get blasted online for that, like, oh, you're too harsh, or what you say stings, because, it's like I really don't hold back. I'm very direct, and I understand my message isn't for
Yeah.
everybody. If anybody watches me on Instagram, like, they understand that basically I'm speaking to myself. Like, if I'm putting content
Yeah.
out there, I'm speaking to my former self because, uh, you know, I realized that if I had somebody like me now in my corner back then, I could probably be further along. And, for me right now, like, my mission right now, obviously my health and wellness center with my wife, that business that we've built is our primary focus. But my whole side project right now is just helping men, particularly dads that are just struggling to, be their best version of themselves, to set the standard for their family. And I think it's such a, we talk about red pill, black pill, society has turned men into just, these unmasculine, uh, you know, self-loathing,
Yeah.
low standard accepting men. And it's just, it's in my mind, it's not okay.
No,
And
it's not. It's not okay, and I think it's because we've lost the distinction between men and women a lot,
yep, 100%.
and men and women are really different. We handle
100%.
stress differently.
Yep.
Our
Hormone.
not just our capacity to take on stress, but our need for stress is different.
Yeah.
Men need stress. Men need not all the time, but we actually get depressed when we aren't doing something that has
Not
some
execute.
level of stress.
Yeah.
You have to have some battle. You have to have a retreat too, but you need a battle to go into,
Yep.
or else you'll get depressed. And that's not quite the same for women. They don't quite have that need. It's a grave mistake to treat men and women identically.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's, the whole idea of equality. Are men and women equal? Yes. But are they, can women do all the same things that men can do? I would say no. And
yeah,
and so
I,
you,
I
you
would
know it's
say I would say we are equal in dignity and
yeah.
almost nothing else.
Yeah. But to treat them the same. The hormones are
Yeah,
completely different, the whole
yeah,
health side of it. But
yeah,
yeah, it's just been my passion for the past year, and so I started coaching men, and
yeah,
just being able to provide guidance to dads that are struggling. One
mm,
thing that I'm absolutely adamant about is this whole concept of dad bods. It drives me insane, and it drives me insane because I once was 40 pounds heavier than I am now, and I had to break that cycle. And so when people will be like, "Oh, you're fat shaming," it's like, I'm not fat shaming. First of all, you're implying there's something to be shameful of when you say that, but I'm not fat shaming. I'm being truthful, and you
yeah,
cannot argue the truth. It's like, so,
yeah,
as a man, like, I was just did a podcast a couple days ago where I was talking about discipline. The
yeah,
reason I bring up, fitness and health is because, to me, that is the best way that I have lived my life. And that's the best way that I see, my clients live their life. Is to build discipline. You can start with your body.
yeah,
And so when a man is struggling to be the standard for his family, he can't show up for himself. He can't show up for his wife. He can't set the standard for his kids. So I'm just very, very passionate about legacy. And legacy to me isn't just about money. It's, much like my wife and I are affecting generations of families that we don't even know how long it'll last.
yeah,
We have a mom and dad that comes in our office, and we get them healthy, and we educate them on how to eat healthier and what to look for and what to avoid. And then
yeah,
that gets passed down to their kids. And if their kids continue that, then it gets, we have no long how idea how long that legacy will last. I'm also
yeah,
now approaching that legacy from a masculine standpoint of helping men, figure that out for their family, like figure that out for themselves. And so, we spoke about irons in the fire. I have so many of them. It's hard to manage sometimes, but that's a lot of us, even if you're not
yeah,
running a business, like, if you're sitting around watching football Saturday, Sunday, Mondays, and Thursdays, drinking beer, like, yeah, you're missing the boat, man. You're missing the boat. And despite what society is trying to put in your head about, dad bods are sexy and all these things, it's like, I disagree. I disagree. And I've always defied the status quo. And
yeah,
not because I like to be in defiance, but it's because who I am at my core.
yeah, yeah. Uh, there's uh, there's a really big difference between simply being harsh and having a standard, right?
Yeah.
So the standard could be harsh, but that's not the goal. The standard exists, and you measure against it. And if you measure short, then there's room for improvement. And men need need that I want to get here kind of a thing. If there is no goal, if dad bod is peak physique, there is no there's no place to put our energy. And just like I said earlier, like the men need some level of stress. If we don't have a goal, we can't move. If we don't have a destination, there is no route to it.
Yeah, and I often get asked, why are you so against the dad bod? And it's like, well, I remember who I was when I had the dad bod, when I had a paunch and all this stuff. Like, and I remember how I would show up, and I was not showing up for myself. I was not showing up for my wife. I was not showing up for my kids. And so it's so much more than the physicality of being overweight or having little muscle or having a gut. It's it you're not showing up as your best self, so you can't show up as the best husband for your wife. You cannot show up as the
Yeah.
best father for your children. And
Yeah.
we have a whole generation behind us that are looking at us. Like, my father, that guy's never been overweight in his life. And so it's like, we've lost a lot of that through society, through all the things that are red pills, things like that. And it's just it's sad. And I'm trying to break the generational norm, the societal norm of this idea that being mediocre is okay.
Yeah.
Is really what it comes down to, James. Is mediocre is they want us to believe being mediocre is okay. Like you said, we're talking about homeschool. It's like, yeah, we're raising basically slaves to work in the factories because
Yeah.
nobody's gonna, they're not being. This is how you start a business. This is how you become financially wealthy. This is how you do this. It's like it's. I do believe it's by design.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
100%. There's no question for me, but I'm fighting. Like I am fighting for men that are struggling in any area. And I have a whole system set up, a proven system that they can start to work on and do those daily things, those daily stressors. Like you brought up basically execution. Like men have to execute on things every day. And if you don't
Yes.
execute on things that you should do, but you don't do, then guess what comes up? Anxiety, shame, guilt, depression. And that's what I've noticed is if you're not moving yourself forward, you're not executing on these daily things, then you're going to have those feelings of depression and anxiety just like I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you need a goal, and there must be some standard against which we can measure ourselves. Once once we see, and it comes from for yourself in your manliness, in your masculinity, or for yourself as a in your physical health, just more generally, holding up a standard and saying, hey, it's not like, okay, so it's typical to be overweight, but that doesn't mean it's okay. We need some standard that doesn't change with the times.
Yeah. So we actually say this in our office when it comes to health, but it also relates to everything else. Just because it's common does not mean it's normal. It's
Yes.
common. It's common to have a dad bod. It's not normal.
Yeah.
Like it's common to have all these health issues, but it's not normal. It's just like, the whole idea of testosterone therapy. As you age, James, your testosterone decreases. Well, that's not how your body's designed. It's common, but it's not normal. I've doubled my
Yeah.
testosterone in the past 2 years without the use of exogenous testosterone because of the way I live my life. What's common is people are eating like shit. People, the foods are manufactured to make you eat more. That's
Yes,
what's
exactly.
common. The lack of working out. This idea of, hey, I am going to drink on Thursday night happy hour, Friday night happy hour, Saturday and Sunday through the games. Like, that's common. It's not normal. It never
Yeah.
used to be normal, right? We can look back. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not normal. It's
Yeah.
not how you're supposed to be living.
Typical is drinking, a gallon of high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah. Yeah.
A week. That's not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why you see all these things on the rise. All the health issues are getting worse. We're separating ourselves further from God. We're not in peak fitness. Like, it's all of the things in basically every sector you could say are actually getting worse, despite these advancements and technology and all these things. But it's like,
Yeah.
we're really distancing ourselves from what we're supposed to be doing as humans and men, what we're supposed to be doing as men. Today, more than ever, it's the hardest to be a connected husband. It's the hardest to be a present father.
Yes.
And it's what I call the trifecta of chaos. Like, if you're a man and you're a business owner and you're a husband and you're a father, you live in chaos. Like,
Absolute.
and you have to be able to navigate the chaos in a productive way. You have to be able to leverage the chaos. You have to be able to leverage the darkness to propel you and your family and your legacy forward. And so, yeah, so that was a long conversation. I think it was a lot of good things, but that's a whole other piece of what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should do number 2 and talk about your men's coaching practice.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. So it's still in the infancy stages. Like I said, I got called by God about a year ago. And it was actually about the second time that I've heard that call. But the past year I've just been exploring meditation more and just walking with God more. And it was a big piece that I was also missing after I kind of figured out all these pieces, but that piece was never quite right. And now I've gotten it right, and it's been a complete game changer. It's a game changer for my clients. They start applying these principles and they just start feeling better. They start feeling more hopeful in life, and they start seeing results. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
So but I would love that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's make sure we get some more time on the calendar. Yeah, it's
awesome.
fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation. I think I learned a lot about you, and I think the conversation was really enjoyable.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Awesome. You as well.
All right. Bye.